We are, guys. We're live. Guess what? We're live. Now, the show, when you start watching it live these days, is going to operate just a little bit differently. This show, it's now what? 9:04. I hate to do it. I got to put on my glasses to see. I've been doing so much work tight on my computer with my old man bifocals that now I need them all day today. So it's 9:01 and I'm going to hit the button right here. Now, we're not live. You're going to get a little feedback. Rainy's bringing me down my headset. And, is this it right here? Never mind. I got him. Jeez. Thanks for running up there. This isn't really started yet.
Here's the two I found.
Oh, this is the one I needed right here.
In case you want two more.
Thank you. It was sitting right here in the middle of my desk. Hang on, folks. Hey, Rainy, while you're back there, will you plug that in to the hole?
Sure will.
All right, folks.
Uh-oh. It's plugged in.
So-
You're still echoing. Oh, you're good.
No, we're good now.
You're good. All right.
I got to wear headsets now because we don't want to get all that feedback. And I can hear myself, so I'm going to turn it down just a little bit. So here's what's going to happen every night now that we're starting the show live again. And we're going to be broadcasting here on YouTube, over on Facebook Odyssey's page, which you can go over there as well. And we're also going to be broadcasting by audio only over on Odyssey Radio for the stream over there. And that starts at 9:04 and 25 seconds is when that kicks in. And that's when I've got to hit the live beginning of the show. And that's where you'll hear that. So we'll have a couple of minutes every day when we tune in at 9 o'clock to just sit here and chit chat and bullshit and all of that stuff, which there are some words now I can't say on Odyssey Radio. And so we have to be very careful. I can't say things like fuck and goddamn and things like that. So, however, that doesn't start until 4 minutes and 25 seconds after the hour. And that's when the station kicks in. And when that happens, we're going to go silent for a few seconds and then we'll start the opener of the show. So you are privileged enough tonight. Hey, Scott Lowry. Hey, Elder Barry and everybody else that's coming in. Sarah Yusuf, good to see you. And so you are, this is what I'm calling the prelude to a relaunch. We are not officially relaunched until Monday, but it took me half the day to decide whether or not I was going to go live tonight. And because I want to get some of the kinks out. And I'll be very honest with you, I'm only a little tiny bit nervous. So, and I'm only nervous. It's not that the audience has changed much. You're all my friends. You've all been here forever. It's that I got to watch all the buttons in time now. Now we got about 20 seconds and we got to go live. So I'm going to ditch out of the full screen here. It's going to go black. If anybody comes in and go, what's going on? Don't worry about it. Tell them not to worry. Here we go. Quiet now on the set.
You're listening to the Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent Talk.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen, Intelligent Talk. You heard it here first. I didn't mention that in the prelude to the show, but as you all know, that's what you get here. And so I'm going to, because we're probably gaining some new audience tonight, now that we're going live over at Odyssey Radio, I want to just go through some of what we're going to be doing with this show. It's some of you who are my regular listeners, my good friends here, the Intrepid family that have been here forever. Many of you are already starting to gather over there in the chat room over on the YouTube channel. I will not be able to monitor everything live because there's a chat room also over on the Odyssey Facebook page, and there's a chat room over on the Spreaker channel, little different one. It's more like comments back and forth. And the show, let's see, we're playing on Facebook, we're playing on YouTube, we're playing on Odyssey Radio, just the audio over at the radio station. So you can catch it over there. If you don't want to join in the chat room and you don't want to really see me talking all night, I mean, what's exciting about this if you're just looking at this screen? See? But if you just want to listen to the audio, just go over to Odyssey Radio and you can hear the audio over there. And if you aren't familiar with Odyssey Radio and everything that goes on over there, go to odysseyradio.com and you're going to see everything over there. You're going to see this show, of course, the Intrepid radio program. My show plays 9 o'clock every night and then an encore at 9 a.m. the next morning. And those of you who've been following the archives that we put up for the last couple of weeks, Doug Stack, if you've been listening to the old archives over there, you will know that we play twice a day. So live show, new show, I should say, every Monday through Friday, 9 p.m., and the encore the next morning. And, of course, you're going to hear Abnormal Reality. Boy, am I getting the name of their show right? Abnormal Realities. Rocky and Ron. They're on at 7 p.m. during the week. And I can't remember what days now. There's some days they're live, some days it's an encore, but you can hear them over there as well. So did the beep problem ever get fixed on Odyssey? I have no idea, brother. No idea at all. I see Ryan Gayle is calling into the show. Let's bring Ryan in. And there's a reason I think he might be here tonight. So let's bring him in for a second. Hang on. Ryan?
Hey, Scotty.
There. How you doing, brother?
Good. I didn't realize I was going to be on the show, but...
You were on the show. Oh, you clicked right into the Call the Live studio.
Awesome.
So did you hit the wrong link?
Yeah, I did, but that's okay.
Oh, okay. Well, say hello to everybody. I'm going to mention you affectionately tonight.
Awesome.
So say hello, and I'll let you go.
All right.
There you go, folks. Ryan Gayle. And Ryan is, you've seen him before. You've talked to him before. He's been in the chat room before. Ryan is my partner in crime with The Sword and the Clay, the new book that's come out. I am going to talk about that a little bit tonight because there's some other things I want to get into. So I'm going to read a little bit from the book. Many of you here who are the regular audience, you've heard this book before. You've heard segments of this book. I'm going to read another little segment tonight, and you may have heard it already, because there's something in that segment that I want to talk about beyond just the Kickstarter and the money being raised for the book and the publishing and so on and so forth. So we're going to get into that too. Field guy, never heard of Ryan Gayle. Well, Ryan Gayle, the first time I met him, I believe it was 1998 or 1999. We were doing our 42nd Royal Highlanders, the Black Watch Regiment, with reenacting. And we were doing historical events around the country and here in Minnesota. And Ryan was just this kid who came in. And I can't remember who sponsored him to come in, but he came in and he was playing fiddle and all of that. And Ryan works for a publisher now, but he came to me and he said, hey, there's this great story that I want to throw out to you. You ought to write this, maybe even illustrate it. He says, I can't do it because I have a non-compete. He says, but he presented to me the idea for The Sword and the Clay, which was, as many of you know, the story of Will Bird, who was a 42nd Battalion Canadian soldier back during World War I. And the 42nd Battalion, by the way, became the Black Watch after the war. I think it was within 10 years after the war. But the 42nd Battalion was the 42nd Highlanders, the Canadian Highlanders, and the 42nd Royal Highlanders is the British regiment, the Black Watch. And so I don't know if it was conferred or if they were adopted in. I don't know what the exact terminology is. Maybe if Ryan is in the chat room, he'll let you know. Hey, Brianna, Good to see you. It's sad that you are no longer right across the street and can just wander into the studio. So I don't know. Whatever shall we do? And so, Brianna, welcome. Doug Stack, Grumpy Stack over there. Let me take a look at who's over in the chat room. Field Guy, Remeldian, good to see you. I think I saw Matt Finn, Master Finn, my first in command, over at the chat room over on the YouTube channel. And you'll have to forgive my squinting tonight, folks. I've spent so much time working on the computer with these. I've got to put these on now. These cheaters, I've always had them, but I got to put them on to read, and I've had them on so much, it's altering my eyes when I don't have them on. So it takes a day to get acclimated to not wearing them again. So who else we got here? Scott Allen is here. Good to see you, brother. And Susie Q, glad that you made it in. And I see many names here. Abnormal Realities Radio is here. Yo! You can all guess who that is. Arg B3, good to see you. And Sarah Yusuf, I saw you. Yusuf, I think it's pronounced like Joseph, the Middle Eastern pronunciation, for lack of a quicker way to get at the point there. And Elderberry, you're here. And I saw a couple of other people. And if I missed you, it's only because I didn't see you. And Roger Rabbit, I know you're here. I saw you early on. So good to have you here. And so, folks, it's good to see the old crowd back here. Glad to have you in here. This show tonight is something, as I mentioned in the pre-show, this is the prelude to the relaunch. So the official relaunch of the Intrepid radio program, playing Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Left Coast Time, is starts on Monday, this next Monday, the 14th of March, in the year of your Lord and mine, 2022. And so I want to welcome you all. Leslie Holker, there she is. Glad to see you here in the live show tonight. And, you know, it's kind of fun to be back. I've wanted to come back ever since the beginning of, you can't come over here. You're naked. So there you go. Ellery hopped out of bed and she's buck tea to the world and just standing in the wings. You better not come on air. So
She just wanted to peek at what you were doing.
oh, okay. She just wanted to peek at what I was doing. So says the Rainy, who is way over on that end of the studio at her desk. And so, yes, the gang's all here, Susie Q. And so this is the prelude. And there were times, do you realize it's been almost 6 months since we stopped broadcasting? Early in October, I just said, you know what? I need a break from this. I got to cut something. I cut the show. And we hopped in maybe a half a dozen times over the last 6 months. But let's see, that's October to November, December, January, February, March. It's been a little over 5 months since, well, about 5 months since we ended the official show every day. 6 days a week, actually, if you include Sundays. And so there were times I really missed it and times that, well, come here and say hi if you want to say hi. There is Ellery. She's standing in the wings. She went and put jammies on so she could come over and say hi to you all. All right, sweetie, why don't you just say something? Say goodnight. Say hi. Good night. I'm going to bed.
Hi.
Hi. Good night. I love you. Bye. You got to go. Like now. Like now.
Like now.
Like now. Bye.
Bye.
Here, go see mom. Go bother your mom, kid. And so everybody says, good evening, Miss Ellery. And so those of you not familiar with the show, I think one of the things that was something that made me a little nervous and was a little unsettling and set me off a little bit, maybe even ticked me off at times, was the fact that my children always invaded the show. I would tell them, Dad is doing live radio. You need to stay out. And what would happen? Invariably, almost every night I did this show, somebody would wander behind me or sneak up on the side or make noise. And so it became a familial interlude, we started to call them. So you'll have to bear with that with this show. I'm not going to apologize for it, and I don't give a rat's bahookie what anybody thinks about it. It's my show. And unless the management comes and pink slips me for it, it's going to be there. And it's going to happen from time to time. Amanda, is that Amanda B? Amanda Boleri. Good to see you, Amanda B. Nice to see you. She is a gorgeous girl. Good day, she says from down under. And so glad to see you back here, Amanda. And so this prelude to the relaunch, the official relaunch on Monday, leading up to this, there were days where I was like, what am I doing? Do I really want to do? I want to get back into doing this full time again. And but then there are other days it was like I couldn't wait till this started. So Doug, Grumpy Stack, you missing somebody over there? Mommy, mummy, mumsy. And so this is what's going on. You're okay, champ. Had me worried. Well, thank you, Amanda. I appreciate that. And for those of you who were concerned, the heart attack, yeah, I had a heart attack a couple of weeks ago. But I've had a bunch of those over the years. So I'm like used to them now. I'm fine. I want to let you know that I feel better now than I have in the last 5 years since the major heart surgery I had. And so those little heart attacks, all we found out was the doc said, hey, they put a stent in back then too. They put in the wrong size. And they put a too small one in. So it kept clogging up. That's what all this junk has been about. Every time you've heard about it, 4 or 5 times over the last 5 years. And now that they've temporarily fixed that, we got to find a more permanent fix. I feel like $1 million. So I may not look like it. I've still aged, but I feel fantastic, comparatively speaking. So I want to put all your minds at rest. You two, heart is strong. Amanda, I am strong like ox, smart like cart. So yeah, things are going all right. And let's see, anything and everything, and always fascinating to stick with us. Yeah, Sarah, stick around. This show will cover, if you've seen any of the write-ups on this or any of the ads we've put out, we do everything from the paranormal to history to archaeology to religious comparatives, not religious and we're getting religious type of thing, but we study religion. We study religious mysteries, Christian mysteries, Jewish mysteries, Islamic mysteries. All of those things all put together. And if you can think of some of the other topics we do, science, try to steer fairly clear of politics. Very sick of doing politics, sick of talking politics over the last several years. So that's what this show is all about. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of a flavor. I got to watch the clock, remember, because, and you guys remind me, at 9:56:25, I can keep talking. But at 9:56:25, guess what happens? The radio station cuts out. Then it's just us left over here on YouTube, maybe even on the Facebook, Odyssey Facebook, but we'll cut out from the radio station. And so we got to end the show before 9:56:25. That's when we officially cut off. And then I got to turn off the stream within a minute of that. So that's the only nerve-wracking part of relaunching this show is all the little bits and bobs I've got to remember to do. So, and those of you who are in the chat room, go check out Odyssey Radio. Report back in here. Make sure we're playing over there. I'm sure I would have heard something from somebody by now if we weren't. You can check out Facebook, Odyssey Radio, and check it out. And now all of that preamble-ish stuff out of the way. That's why I'm calling this the prelude to the relaunch, because this isn't the official radio show yet. So we can kind of screw around a little bit. I want to give you a taste for what the radio show is going to do if you've never been here before, like Sarah. And we're going to launch into that now for most of the rest of the remainder of the show. But this was really you're kind of my guinea pigs tonight, my old family here, the Intrepid family. And you are the guinea pigs in the sense that you are watching this show and you are hearing all this detail about the relaunch. And you know what? There was something I actually forgot to do. Boom, the banner is now on. How about that? See that scrolling banner at the bottom? I'd forgotten to do that. Now that's on. And those of you on radio that can't see that, you're like, what do I care? Well, you got to roll with it. There are some things that are going to happen on this show in future episodes where we address solely people that can watch the show over on the YouTube channel. We might show some pictures or diagrams or whatever, and you can see that on the Facebook and you can see that on the stream at YouTube, but you won't hear it audibly. You won't see them audibly. You'll just hear about it. So, all right, without taking that any further, let's, hey, thanks, Amanda. It's me cowboy shirt. And just call me the man from Snowy River or the man from, I don't know, something else. That's your context down there. It's my cowboy shirt. Thank you. I'm glad you like it. And I almost got it in another color too. So because I like it. There's one I'm holding out on. It's a cowboy shirt like this. And instead of all the curly cues and flowers and things, it's got like stars and planets and Saturns and rockets and stuff. And it's very cool and very classy. But it's like $120 or something like that. So it's got to wait till I'm rolling in it to get that one. Leslie got her hoodies today. So glad you got those finally. And I still have your coffee cup here. It's got to ship out. I just haven't made it out the last few weeks. So I feel like a recluse these days. So it'll get there. Trust me. And it's sitting right here somewhere. Oh, it's in a box already. I just haven't gotten it to the post office. What's with that? What's with the help around here? So, folks, as you all know, I've written a new book. And it is, many of you know about this inside and out because not only have I talked about it here and read from it here, but we put up a Kickstarter for the publisher, and it is over on that Kickstarter. We're in the middle and the thick of that campaign. So I don't want to wear myself out too much on that one, but I want to tell you, if you have not gone over there yet to get your book, go do it. There's a couple of reasons I'm asking you. One, if you go pledge, help us reach that goal. We've got a $20,000 goal on that because it costs about $16,000 to $18,000 from start to finish to put this book together. Now, I had promised our financier, who is now Manitou Free Traders Press, we told him, hey, when we get this going, we're going to launch a Kickstarter campaign for two reasons. To see if we can get the book funded. He'll probably fund it anyway, but we wanted to show him that there was enough interest in it that people would go ahead and pre-purchase the book, especially all my followers who seem to love the stuff that I put out. And and the second reason is to demonstrate to our publisher that there is an interest level out there for this kind of book. It's a book about history, which is primarily going to be what Manitou Free Traders Press is all about. But it's telling historical stories set into history. Stories for kids, stories for young adults, stories for adults. As a matter of fact, as I've already let some of you know, last Sunday, Reuben Fasthorse and I are going to be working on a book that have basically he and I as characters only set back a couple hundred years, maybe 250 years, right pre-colonial America, pre-Revolutionary War. And we're going to have the books talking about mythology, the Celtic mythology blending with or finding its comparisons in Native American mythology, from the elementals to the fae and all of those things and magics and so on. So he and I have already had a pretty good discussion on that, and we plan to be pursuing that kind of wholly depending on what happens with the sword and the clay. So I encourage you. The link is out there somewhere. If somebody wants to go over there, post the link. If you go to the Kickstarter page, here, I'll grab it because it's right here in front of my face. I'm going to paste it in the chat room for you. If you get a chance, go over there, take a look. If you don't know anything about the book, take a look at it over there and you'll get an idea. And I'm going to read a little bit of it for you right now because I want to talk a little bit about the subject matter. Now, as you all know, Will Byrd, the man in the story, World War I soldier, a Canadian 42nd Battalion, became later the Black Watch. when he was in France fighting the war in the First World War in 1917, after the bombardment of Amiens, France. He was walking through the trenches and the craters after the battle had ended, and he found an old sword in the clay and the mud that had all been churned up by the bombs. And he put it in his pack and brought it back home. And they determined that the sword was a Roman gladius and that sword was about 2,000 years old. And they also determined, just by its location, that because it was found near Amiens, France, that this is more than likely a sword that somebody who fought for the Roman army during the Gallic Wars had dropped there, had lost there in some way, in some fashion. And so this sword is something that is now still today in the military museum in Halifax, Nova Scotia. You could go see this sword. But Will Byrd found this sword in the clay. The only thing they didn't know was to whom the sword belonged. It was just, they thought, just a soldier's sword. Nothing of great significance to the person who lost it, or about the person who lost it, but of great historical significance because of where it was found. Now, Amiens, France was old Samarabriva, is what it was called by Julius Caesar at the time, which basically meant, if you loosely translate it roughly, it means that place by the river with a bridge, the place by the river Somme with a bridge, is what Samarabriva meant. And that is today, that's currently Amiens, France. Beautiful town. There's a cathedral there. Did you know the other Notre Dame Cathedral in France? There isn't just one in Paris. There's one that looks almost identical to it in Amiens, France. And that was built in, I think, the 1100s or the 1200s or something like that. So this is the background. Now I'm going to read this segment. If you've heard it before, just sit back, endure it, enjoy it. It's 9:27. We've got about, about 30 minutes left of the show, something like that, 31 minutes. So sit back. I'm going to read this segment because I want to talk about this for a minute. And Brianna, you pay attention to this too. I saw your name, so it made me think of this, and many of you others who've had what you believe have been visitations from people who have passed on or have experienced them in some way. This is also, not only is this book about the history of Will Byrd, some Roman history. I've created the fictional characters for the man who would have owned the sword and juxtaposed it against Will Byrd's story. But it's also a story that involves some of the ghost stories that Will Byrd told in his memoirs of World War I in his book called Ghosts Have Warm Hands, his memoirs of World War I. And he went on, by the way, after the war to write about 40 books over the next 50 years. And he passed away in 1983 at 94 or 84 at 93. I can't remember exactly, inverting those numbers. But here is the chapter. And it's called, and I did a recording of this one not long ago, and some of you heard that. It's called A Whisper in the Ear. Now, before Will Byrd, at the outbreak of World War I, Will couldn't join. He tried to join the war like all the young men at the time, and he had broken teeth because he played hockey, and they told him, you can't join up unless you fix those teeth. And but his younger brother, Steve, was able to enlist, and he left for the war in 1914. But before he left, and Will Byrd wrote about this in his book, he said to his brother, Will, if there's any reason I shouldn't make it home from the war, maybe sometime I'll try to find a way to come and whisper in your ear. And Will Byrd wrote about that. And so this little chapter of the book is called A Whisper in the Ear. And it goes like this. It was April 1917. A year and a half had passed since Will Byrd joined the 42nd Battalion, the legendary regiment of the British Army known as the Black Watch. The Germans had dubbed them ladies from hell, likely due to the kilts the battalion wore while charging into battle to the droning blare of their bagpipes. The Germans hated these guys. Since the beginning of the war, the German army had successfully held a 4.5-mile-long escarpment along the border between France and Belgium known as Vimy Ridge. Will and the 42nd Battalion needed to take that high ground away from the Germans, and over 3 days that April, they and the entire coalition of Canadian forces slowly made their way up. A constant bombardment of German shells thundered over their heads of the advancing Allied forces as Will and 2 of his platoon mates spent grueling days digging trenches and laying barbed wire near the front lines of the fighting. It was well past midnight of the second day when Will and the others reached their exhaustion point. They called it quits and threw themselves into the cold, muddy trench to attempt to get some sleep. Winter was barely past, and the night air bore with it that feeling of being too warm for winter, yet too cold for spring. The mud and clay were churned up, and the best a soldier could do was wrap up in his trench coat and hug himself for warmth, while dreaming of a warm day in the sunny Nova Scotian field back home. Will had seen better days, to be sure, but he was simply too tired to think about it much, and he fell fast asleep, wrapped in his coat, huddled beneath a makeshift tent tied down at the corners to ward off the wind and retain some scraps of warmth for Will and his 2 fellow soldiers. At some point in the night, the wind took one of the corners of the tent and whipped it free. It brushed across Will's face and woke him. In that same moment, a warm hand grasped his right hand and pulled at him, while another warm hand grabbed at his left and yanked him to his feet. Startled to groggy wakefulness, Will thought it was one of his comrades who pulled him up. But when he got a look into the face of his dead-of-the-night visitor, it was someone much more familiar. It was Steve. His little brother Steve, who had died 18 months earlier. This was no stupor-induced delusion or fitful, freakish nightmare brought on by the rigors of battle. It was live and in-the-moment real. Steve, dressed in a clean, crisp uniform, leaned into Will and spoke softly with brotherly familiarity. "Get your gear," Steve whispered. "Follow me." He paused for a moment, then turned and started down the trench with some sense of urgency. Will was simply too shocked to speak. He did as his brother asked, grabbing his gear and following Steve through the trenches and makeshift shelters constructed by other soldiers from his platoon. At one point, Will lost his grip and dropped the gear he had thrown hastily over his shoulder. When he stooped down to pick it up, he saw Steve, several paces ahead, enter a passageway off the trench. Will threw his gear back over his shoulder and hurriedly followed after Steve, but his brother was nowhere to be seen. The passageway split to the left and the right, and Will had no idea which direction his brother had turned. He decided to try to the right. He could not see Steve, so he doubled back and went to the left. Still, he could not find him. Steve had vanished completely. Tired and now sweating, Will leaned up against a wall in the passageway, overtaken by exhaustion, and standing there upright, his face against the muddy wall, he fell back to sleep. "What are you doing here?" a voice cracked out of the dark, snapping Will abruptly out of his sleep. He was still standing against the wall of the passageway. A fellow soldier from his platoon was shaking him. "What are you doing here, man?" the soldier repeated. Will hadn't yet come to his full senses when the soldier told him that part of the trench had been hit directly by a German shell. They were working to dig it out, but all they could find were bits of equipment and bloody body parts. Will hurriedly accompanied the other soldier to help dig out the trench when he realized to his horror that it was the very spot where he had been sleeping. If Will had remained there a few minutes longer, it would have been his arms and his legs found in the debris. Will's dead brother had saved his life. Will was stunned. He told the soldiers and eventually the rest of his platoon about the visitation from his brother. No one was sure what to believe, and many of his lads were skeptical, thinking Will had just simply walked off in his sleep and dreamt the whole thing. Was that truly the spirit of my brother? Will asked himself. Did he have some providential knowledge that I would die in that muddy trench? Will pushed these musings out of his mind. All he knew for sure was that Steve was watching over him and had found some way to wake him, touch him with warm hands, and whisper in his ear. The very next day, the Allies took Vimy Ridge. The victory marked an auspicious turn in the conflict, becoming a symbol of the unified Allied efforts that would eventually win the war, and Will would fight on till the end with the 42nd Battalion. That's the little segment of the book that I wanted to read to you tonight. And hopefully that will whet your appetite. And if you haven't gotten your own copy of the book, you could go over to the Kickstarter. And I'll just slap that link in here one more time, shamelessly. Boom. There it is. That's the link to the Kickstarter. There's several different levels, by the way. You can get the book. You can get the book and a bookmark, the book and a bookmark, and tumblers. You can get the book and artist prints, signed copies of the book, signed artist prints. You can even go all the way up and start putting money into Manitou Free Traders Press. You can see it all over there. And so I encourage you. And the sooner you do that, the more it looks good as people come and visit and they say, hey, people are buying this book. And at the same time, remember, you're not going to get charged a dime unless we meet our goal. But your pledge is very important. So there you go. That's all I got to say about that. Now I want to ask you guys, let me take a sip here because I'm a little dry in the throat. Let me ask you, have you ever had an experience like that where somebody you know has either visited you, you've had a visitation, you've seen somebody, or maybe even go all that whole way and say somebody from the other side saved your life? Have you had that happen? Leslie's drinking out of the same cup. Hey, cheers, Leslie. It's my Intrepid radio mug. And so Leslie got 2 books. That's right. And Death the Show. Hey, welcome to the show, Death the Show. At least it doesn't say death to your show. I appreciate that. I might do that for tomorrow. Death, but it wouldn't be tomorrow. It'd be Monday. So let's see. I'm just looking back at some of your... the elk hide is still in brine, says Elderberry. Outstanding. I have no idea what you're talking about, but I know what that means. So good luck with that. Project Skyfalls, good to see you. And Rainey, sitting over on the other side of the studio, Doug Steck says, I want Rainey to leave her mark on my Tumblr.
I will.
She will, she said, Doug. And she smiled, looking up over her computer. And she goes, I will. So there you go. We'll see what that means. And so, have any of you had that kind of divine visitation? I know I've had visitations in dreams. I know my wife, we believe she had a visitation from her brother who was killed in action after his 5th, I think, tour of duty in Iraq. There was a night, I'm going to take out one side, so if you're saying anything to me over there, Rainey, I can hear you. But there was one night, and I've told you this story before, Rainey and I were dating. We'd been dating for a while. And we were sleeping. Yeah, we were sleeping together. And we were sleeping, and I had this really heavy comforter. It's a suede on one side, that really soft, supple kid's suede. And the other side is kind of a faux pile lining. And it's really heavy. It's for a big king-size bed. And that thing probably weighs, it feels like it weighs about 40 pounds when you pick it up. But we were covered up with that. And one night, we just felt the whole thing just whoosh. It was like somebody, I'm going to do for my next magic trick. Watch this. Whoosh. And the whole thing came off of us, just yanked off of the bed. Now, mind you, this is 2005 or early 2006. So we're talking almost 17 years ago, 16, almost 17 years ago. It was 2006 because her brother passed away in 2006. So this happened, and I remember it's in the middle of the night. It woke me up. I leaned down and I grabbed it as it was reaching the end of the bed, and I yanked it back up. And I thought, wow, what did that? And we looked at rolled over, and I looked at the clock, and it was 4:44 a.m. I later found that 4 was the number of angels, and so the triple 4 had some meaning to it. So, sounds like a nice warm cover, says Leslie, and it's still comforting. It's all comforting. And so, never remember the name in dreams, but gosh, they are good, says Amanda. And I don't know what I'm missing there. I'm seeing Brianna say "ew" over in the chat room. So I haven't read everything that's going on over there. You guys just keep the fires burning over there in the chat room. And if you want to talk, we've got about 10 minutes or so, 15 minutes or so left of the show. If you want to call into the chat room or into the studio line and share an incident with us, you can. Don't call in off topic, though. Don't call and go, oh, hey, I want to talk about politics. We're not going to do that tonight. If you want to talk about what I'm talking about here, about ghostly visitation, perhaps even saving your life, I would love to hear that. And bum the chat down, I can do that, says Field Guy. Wow, this all went too fast. Yeah, well, we've got 15 minutes left. So we're 3/4 through the show already. Now, this is just, right now, we're just doing an hour show, like we've always done. So bear with it. Maybe there will be some nights we'll extend beyond. Maybe if you stick around tonight, we can talk for a little bit afterwards once we go off air. And for all of those of you listening on air, if you come over to the YouTube channel, that's youtube.com/Scotty Roberts. You can join over there, and maybe we'll go a few extra minutes over there and do a little extension of the show tonight. So, Brianna looks like Shannon without my glasses. Brianna Learman said, that said, burn the chat down. Put your glasses on. Oh, okay. Well, there it is. Burn, bum, RN together, small case, can look like M when you're not wearing your bifocals. Here, see? I can put these on. I can put those on and see it. I can put my more styling ones on. But then I got to hold my head up like that. These I had specially made for drawing pictures. So I would call, but I don't have a headphone, says Grumpy Stack. Oh, that's okay. And so all of you, you can find the link to call in if you want to call in. I'll see you pop up here. I've got a list of things. Now, this is kind of paranormal activity light, okay? Let's kind of put it that way, because this is one of those top 10 lists that I went and looked up. And the top 10 list here has to do with the 10 times the supernatural saved lives and served up justice. Now, some of this stuff, you look at it, and people who aren't into this stuff, they all go, if they're not a believer or an experiencer, I would call it, in these things, none of this, I don't care about any of this stuff. So I'm going to tell you some of these stories. When the topics of ghosts arise, it typically involves poltergeist activity and behaving creepy and maliciously toward people and locations they haunt. And these preconceptions of ghosts and about ghosts really overlook the notable times that spirits have reportedly helped people in dire situations. And so, though deadly ghost encounters may sometimes occur, there's plenty of stories that involve supernatural entities saving the day. People who claim that ghosts saved them have relayed encounters with friendly specters that managed to rescue them or a loved one. And there are historical and modern accounts of times when spirits were saviors to people, meaning that those from beyond might have influenced human history more than anyone ever considered. And by the way, if you think about it, there is an interesting passage even in the Bible. If you're Christian, in the New Testament, I think it's in the book of Hebrews, it says something about just remember we're all encompassed about, surrounded by a great cloud of witnesses that have gone on before us. And they watch our activities. Now I'm paraphrasing, getting into more interpretive nature of this. They watch us. They interact with us sometimes. Ghosts in the Bible, you say? Yeah, there's ghosts in the Bible. And so let us take a look at this. Pardon me. I am back to the days where I don't have a cough button, a mute button. I have to hit the dial. And we're all around my household this week, all coming down with a little bit of something. Rainy's been a little sick. Flynn's been throwing up all day. The kids, the girls have been one by one. And now I got a little throat thing going on as of about yesterday. And so it dries me out pretty quick as I talk. So let's see. Brianna Learman said, like taking a shower and hearing, "Show me your boobs." You weren't supposed to tell anybody about that, Brianna. That was our little secret. But seriously, if you had that happen, you may have told me that once before. Did somebody say that to you in the shower? Top 10 list can go on for 4 days. That's right, Grumpy. Grumpy Doug. Let's see. I saw that post in my feed. That's why I said use a sleeping bag. You'll feel cuddly. Thank you, Leslie. We'll all feel fine soon. So let's go through this top 10 list. We'll probably hit one or two of them at the rate we go around here. So there's the Greenbrier ghost, allegedly identified her killer. In February of 1897 in Greenbrier, West Virginia, Mary Jane Heaster claimed that she started receiving visits from her late daughter, Elva Zona Heaster Shue, S-H-U-E, regularly at midnight. Zona had died a month prior of everlasting faint, as it was called in those days, though Hester suspected a more nefarious cause was to blame. And when she took Zona's burial sheet home and washed it, Hester watched as the water ran red. Because of this, Hester took the situation seriously when her deceased daughter allegedly appeared in the middle of the night. Zona told Heather that her husband, Erasmus Edward Stribling Trout Shue, there's a name for you. And what's your name, sir? My name is Erasmus Edward Stribling Trout Shue. There you go. And had snapped her neck. And the specter reportedly rotated her head to show her mother what had happened to her. So the ghost of her daughter shows up, rotates her head in a circle and said, "He snapped my neck, Mom." Now, Hester immediately went to the police and told them her story. Miraculously, they believed her, and they exhumed Zona's body. They performed an autopsy since Edward had prevented the local coroner from examining Zona when she died. Doctors quickly discovered Zona's neck was indeed broken, and they arrested Edward for killing her. Now, that's not really a ghost saving your life, but that's a ghost doing some intervention of a major kind. A ghost telling, have you ever had spirit visitation? Now, I know we attribute all this to psychics and their mediumship and the kind of activity that they get. Oh, yeah, and Brianna, I do remember that. On Halloween, I sat with Brianna and we did a little spirit box session. We got some very interesting stuff for her. And I've experienced a lot of ghostly activity. Rainey has. Brianna has. And I know some of you have. Amanda Berry, I've got to think that you've experienced some. It says you fell asleep at the wheel driving 900 kms, whatever that is in English. Didn't crash, but my fuel light was on. I was 100 kilometers from home, and I tried to find a fuel station. Wasn't any open, but my car made it 100 kilometers down the road to home. Well, that's good. You don't know if that's ghostly activity or not. Reminds me of, wasn't it Elijah the prophet in the Old Testament? The widow's, was it the widow's mite? Or no, it was the widow's, the flour that they kept dipping into the flour and using it every day, and she had nothing left and no money, but it kept providing and kept providing and kept providing. Or the loaves and fishes story, the miraculous side of its story, all of that, the spiritual side of those things. Let me take another drink. Again, pardon the cough. I've got to reach over and do this. Now, I could do this. Watch this. Watch. I'm going to turn my sound down right now. I'm saying, right? And so, yeah, there. I had turned my sound down. I can do that, but I can't mute it. And some of that is because of the way the equipment needs to be picked up for broadcasting everywhere. I see Field Guy. Field Guy, I'm only going to let you in if you have a pertinent story to tell us. There, his hands went up in the air. Here, he's coming on. Hey, Field Guy, how you doing?
Hello.
Hello.
I have a story.
Tell us.
It's not quite a person seeing you in a dream or a ghost story, but it is a ghost story.
All right. Let's hear it.
And it's kind of like, I remember I was, I think, like maybe 9 or 10, and there was like this old abandoned house that I used to live next to for about 2 years. It was all boarded up, you know, the type where coverings on the sofas and, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And me and my friend went in there one time. We were just like, oh, you know, kids. We wanted to see what was what. We went in there and just goofing around. We didn't know what we would see. And I swear we heard a voice, a couple of voices here and there. We couldn't quite tell. I still think to this day I saw a ghost in that house.
So that's crazy.
I'm not quite sure, but being 10, your brain plays tricks on you.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It was kind of weird because they said someone died in this house, so I don't know.
Oh boy.
I think it was an older person though, because it looked like stuff. I mean, this house hadn't been touched in probably 20 years, and this was in the 80s.
Crazy. Yeah.
Well,
that's great. Hey, I'm going to bring Hank in too. Hold on a second. Hey, Hank, you got a story for us?
Well, I don't know what's going on there with this thing.
Well, we got about 3.5 minutes till we've got to end the show.
I'll give this a try.
Why don't you give us a shot? Oh, we got a little feedback. Hank, I hate to do this to you. I'm going to have to let you go because we're wrapping up toward the end of the show. Let's try again on Monday. So you hang tight and we'll come back to you on Monday. We'll try again. All right. And Field Guy, I'm going to let you go too because we're going to start wrapping up here for the end of the show. Thanks for calling in with your story. I appreciate it, brother. All right. Talk to you soon. All right, folks, as Field Guy predicted it in the chat room, or was it Doug? I think it was Doug Stack that said Scotty can't get through 10 points, short points out of his story. No, I can't, guys. We've got about 3 minutes left of the show, and we go off air. And so I want to thank you all for being here tonight. We didn't get through a lot of material. I wanted to talk a little bit more about this, but that's okay. We'll do this again another time. This was the prelude to the relaunch of this show, which starts on Monday. And I want to thank you all for being here. You guys have stuck with me all the way along. You've been here for over 2 years since we started Odyssey Radio with Odyssey Radio. And now under new ownership, really, Odyssey Radio is really going to new places as well. And it's going to be exciting. Here's my wife. She's going to step in and say goodbye to y'all while she can. Here's Rainey, the Rainey.
Hey. Hi,
how you doing, beautiful?
I'm doing.
All right. And we've got officially, we go out at 9:56:25, and it's now 9:55:19. So we've got about a minute left of the show. So in about 30 seconds, I'm going to give us our exit and we're going to get out of here. So guys, come back on Monday for the relaunch of the show and say goodnight to Rainey. Say goodnight, Rainey.
Good night, Rainey.
All right, guys. Thank you. Love you all. Thanks for being here. Talk to you again Monday. Here we go. Bye.
You're listening to the Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent Talk.
Are you looking for a really awesome and amazing graphic designer? How about an illustrator or a photographer? This is Rainey Roberts, and I wanted to tell you how you can get my designer, illustrator husband, Scotty Roberts, to work for you on your project. Do you have an awesome self-published book but no cover, or even worse, a cover that really sucks? Do you need a kick-ass logo for your company or some f***ing awesome graphic designs for your ads or website? Then get in touch with my husband for the best f***ing awesome kick-ass design and illustration. He knows his stuff, and he's been at this for more years than I've been alive. Go to ScottAllenRoberts.com. That's Scott with 2 T's, ALANROBERTS.com to take a look at his online portfolio of work, or call 651-468-8115. Now go out and kick some ass with some kick-ass graphic design.
Hire my dad so he can take me to Disneyland.
You're listening to the Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent.
Go back in there. Can anybody see me or hear me over there? I unplugged my headset, so I think my I may have to reset things here for a second. The old logo still lives. That's right. I see you. Nobody can hear me? Can't hear me? Hang on 1 minute. 1 minute. I'm going to reboot. So. All right. I think we have sound now. Let's find out. Audio. Can you hear me now? Up there it goes. It's going. There we go. All right. You can hear me.
Yay.
You're translucent, says Brianna. So here, let me zoom that up just a little bit so you can see Rainey. There she is.
Yeah, hi.
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 You're awfully sexy over there, Mama.
Right?
Yeah.
Totes.
Totes. Yeah. It's the babushka on your head.
And it's keeping my ears warm. It's cold down here.
Yeah. Yeah. Look at that, Doug. It keeps getting redder and redder. Some days it's less red.
It doesn't help that your lighting has got y'all looking like you're...
The lighting is horrible too. Yeah.
You got liver issues.
It does. Well, here. See, I can go brighter, and I had to even dim the screen. See, look at that. That's what, when I have my screen on to full, that's what it does. And it makes me look pasty.
I think my colors look good back here.
Yeah, maybe. And so I know this isn't scintillating live radio over here. But here, if I back up, see, then it just adjusts because I'm such a presence that the light comes with me. So Rainey's just got better color than I do.
Right.
So in the summer,
really
when it
bright
starts
over here.
getting warm, I'll get a little more tan, and we'll get tan. I'll sunburn the rest of my face so my nose will blend in. That's what'll happen. Here, I'm gonna lower that a little bit. There we go. But yeah, I got a little red here, a little red here, and so I've asked my doc about that, and he says it's just normal. I'm like, no, it's not normal. So.
Yeah, you're not normal.
Yeah, Rennie should have a show, field guy.
Yeah, I can't talk to myself.
She can pull it off.
No, I couldn't.
Yeah, you could.
No, I couldn't. You guys see me. You see me when Scotty makes me sit here by myself.
It's just practice.
Yeah.
Hey, Barbie D.
Now,
how you
if I
doing?
could talk like I talk to myself in my head,
Yeah.
then I could carry a fun show. But
There you go.
I can't think the same time I talk.
There you go. Somebody said something to me. Ron, fantastic show, brother. All worked well. Internet glitches here and there, both on the radio and on the Facebook, and overall it was fantastic. Thank you, Ron. I don't know if he's listening. And I'm going to say thank you, brother. That's Ron Phillips. All right. So it went off without much of a hitch. You know what's funny is that I'm watching that clock the whole time. And
I'm sure.
and all I keep seeing is that, I got 20 minutes. I got 17 minutes. I got 15 minutes left. Then the next time I looked, I'm like, we're down to 3.5 minutes. And I'm like, oh, I couldn't take Hank's call. I don't know who Hank is. Hank, if you're still out there, I'd never met Hank before. Not sure who he is. As far as, here's Debbie and somebody. Here we go.
Selected media, but why can't
Debbie and
why
Michael.
won't it take a picture?
How you doing? Hey.
Hello.
We see you.
No, look at the monkey.
Did I capture? Why did it? It didn't say. I put it on capture.
That's a pretty good monkey.
Guys on radio.
Can
I don't think you.
Can you hear
Oh,
it?
here now. Do it again.
Hi, Debbie and Michael.
What does it say here?
Ermine
Take a
trout.
photo snapshot. Okay.
I think they just like
Hello, my darling.
I think that they were accidental visitors. That's
I
my
don't know what
thinking.
to do.
Can you hear me? Debbie, can you hear me? Michael, I guess not. So now that was entertaining. Oh, that's a spam bot, says Roger Rabbit.
Nice. Either way.
That was interesting.
I haven't seen that. That was good.
It's a troll. That figures. Hank, I hope you weren't a troll either. You look like an interesting gentleman. How come you're not in bed sleeping?
Cause mom's not in bed sleeping yet.
Yeah.
Nobody goes to bed till ma goes to bed.
That's right. So
Should we go to bed? Maybe I'll wake up with my voice back.
maybe you will. Maybe I will.
Wake up with
Murder
your
word.
what?
With my voice back, so it's not scratchy and icky.
Your what?
Huh?
Your what?
Huh?
What are you gonna wake up with?
Without you being
Yes.
there in the middle.
Yeah.
Rude.
Yeah.
Rude.
How rude of me. So what the heck? The show goes live on Odyssey and they start hacking the live. Field guy calling again. Explain those two calls. So I get it. They were trolls. I wondered, about that, but that's interesting. So, was Neil Part had it as well. Neil Pert. There's always beeps on Odyssey. That's why I stopped going on it. Said Field guy. What do you mean beeps on Odyssey? You mean beeping out your swear words, your cuss words?
That's the aliens trying to come in.
So, Flab says Debbie. Hey, Flab.
It's 10:05.
So bedtime for you, little tiny. You got to get up in the morning and go do your derby
We
thing.
gotta go race our derby cars. Go to bed.
9 p.m.
That's 9 a.m.
So, You are the child. You get to go to bed. Mom's going to stay up with me for a little bit on the radio.
Go get my spot warm. Tell me when it's warm and I'll come in. Go get my spot warm and I'll come in when it's warm.
It is warm. I already warmed it up.
You're not laying in it.
Okay,
It can't be warm.
Yes,
Okay.
it
Say goodnight to everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Yep. Child, I don't want to get mad at you on radio. You need to go do what Mom and Dad were asking. You need to go. Go lay down.
Okay, we're not doing derby tomorrow.
All right. Sheesh.
Why?
That face was priceless. I don't know which one, but the face on the child. So, or that one. Good night.
All right.
You've been asked to go to bed.
I'm going to go beat some kid.
I'll see you in a bit. Oh, good night, Ro.
Good night.
Bye. See you in a bit. All right. So there we go. All right. It's just too bright in here. It's just too bright on the screen because it lights up. It just way too bright. I got to get my lights all rigged a little better. So what'd you think tonight, folks? How's that for the pre-launch of the new show? It's really the old show, just picking up where we left off. Just a little more technical stuff to do. And it looks like Ron spent some time on the phone with me today, got me all set up, and I just hit the button and we go. I just got to watch the clock. So, and you know what? If I miss the clock, it automatically cuts us off at, what was it? 9:56 and 25 seconds. Boom, we're off radio. I just have to shut the stream off. So for the next person. Glad you loved it, Leslie. Thank you. Love that there were people in the chat with me. Yeah, that's nice. I'm going to do 10 p.m. Eastern from now on. Yes, Barbie D. It's going to be 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Mountain Time, 7 p.m. Left Coast Time, and I think 2 in the afternoon in Hawaii or something like that. So, yeah, that'll be fun. I know in England, it's what, 6 hours difference? So it's like when I start here, it's 3 in the morning in England, and in Cairo, about the same. You know, Cairo and London are in the same time zone. That's I didn't know that even. So just go look at a world map. You'll get the idea. So Grumpy Stack says, Scotty. Oh, the face I made when Ellery was looking for a place in your bed. Yeah, my bed. So are you going to do 10 p.m. Eastern? Yes. And Kickstarter, I hope it succeeds. But if it doesn't, we can still get the book from and the bookmark and Tumblr. Grumpy, I'm pretty sure our financier is going to go ahead and publish the book anyway. That's not, I only say that because I think he's going to publish it. He may even do that before we reach the end of the Kickstarter. But part of my deal with him was that I said, I think that we can show you a way we can recoup your investment on this by doing a Kickstarter. We promised him we'd launch a Kickstarter. And so that's what we're doing now. And this Kickstarter is really, it's to fund the book, definitely. It would be nice if he didn't have to put out the extra money without knowing he's going to get a return on his investment. Now, of course, once the book is published, we can sell those books. We can go probably museums, bookstores. We go the distribution route. But I would love us to be able to say, look, we have run this Kickstarter and we've really recouped the amount of money it takes to publish this book. What that will do for him is put him in a position to want to continue doing this because he sees that there's interest out there in it. So Brianna says she's going to bed. Good night, Brianna. Nice to see you. I'm so sad you're not across the street and it's hot outside and you can come over in your really short cut off Daisy Dukes and sit and do radio with us. So miss you already. Miss you as a neighbor. They were over not too long ago, so they're going to come over again sometime soon. So good night. Say good night to John for me. And the little kids, I'm sure, are already in bed over there at the Learman house. Professor Bauer, remember the time warp on Sunday. That's right. That's this Sunday. Folks, we're already going into daylight savings time. It's 4 degrees outside here right now. It just seems too damn early to have daylight savings time. But next week, it's going to be in the 40s and 50s. So that makes me really happy. I can endure the next couple of days of cold knowing that it's going to be, and to some of you down south, 40 and 50 ain't warm. That's warm up here at this time of year. And same here, Leslie. Leslie's right in the same neck of the woods. It's 59 in the back bedroom down here, the kids' room, the girls' room. So, but what are you doing?
What do you think I'm doing?
I don't know. That's why I asked. What is that?
It's called a straightener.
It's called a straightener. Duh. So Rowan's going to straighten her hair because it's not straight enough.
Because it's messed up. Look at it.
Okay. Mom's going to bed. If you want your hair braided, go in there and have her do it for tomorrow. All right, guys. That's familial time. I'm sure you all missed it. It was 72, and in 5 minutes, it dropped to 42. Holy crap. You had a front come in on top of you, didn't you? Leslie says they're at 2 degrees now. Here, I can find out right now. Hold on. Hey, Siri, what's the current temperature?
It's 3 degrees outside.
It's 3 degrees outside here. Hey, Google, what's the 5-day forecast? No, it's not Google, it's Siri. Siri on my computer, smarty pants. Hey, Siri, what's the 5-day weather forecast?
Here's the weather between today and Wednesday.
Holy cow. By Wednesday, it's going to be 55 degrees, and it's 3 degrees now. That's a whole 52-degree difference by Wednesday. So tomorrow, it's going to be 28, partly sunny, 41 on Sunday. It starts getting into the 40s this time of year. Ask Leslie. She's grown up here. Gets 41 this time of year. You're like, oh, my God, how naked can I get outside? And where's my tanning oil? Then Monday, it's going to be 39. Tuesday, 48. Wednesday, 55. That is glorious weather. But we got to get through the next day or two before it starts getting up into that warm stuff. Global warning, says Professor Bauer. How you doing, Professor? Good to see you. Glad you're in here. I'd kill for 42, says Leslie. Yeah, me too. Kill for 42. From Siri's lips to God's ears. From Siri's lips to God's ears. And by the way, if you're coming in late, the show's already over. We're just doing a little extension afterwards over here. So let's see what else we got. Scott Allen says it's 54 there already. And a few weeks ago, we had a 4-day stretch of the 80s. Well, you're in New Orleans. Of course, it's going to be cold or warm down there. Of course, you got humidity, too. And you got friggin' hurricanes. We don't have hurricanes up here. We get tornadoes, but not as often as you seem to get hurricanes. And it's wet down there. It's always wet. If it's not raining, it's wet. It's so humid down there. I did not like Louisiana. No offense to you, Fieldy, or any of my other Doug, any of my other Louisiana friends. I did not enjoy Louisiana, mostly because I'm really a hater of humidity. So when it gets, it doesn't mean I want to bone dry all the time. It just means I don't like walking outside and my clothes stick to my body instantly and it's hot. I don't like that. So, what'd you say, Fieldy? God hates us. It's all. Is all. Grumpy says, I dare you to vape show on Odyssey. I probably could. I just can't say certain naughty words on Odyssey. So I can't say goddamn on Odyssey. And I don't think I can say fuck on Odyssey. I think everything else probably don't want me to go Jesus Christ either. I'm thinking. Ron kind of gave me the lowdown on that a couple of weeks ago. So, yeah. So there's certain things I can't say. It's just the way they're set up, the network they're affiliated with, Mojo 50, and it's all the other stuff. So it's storming here now, says Field Guy. I think we're going to get a little snow on Sunday, so I've heard. We always get snowstorms right at the end of winter. The nice thing about them, it's over in a day or two. You get the storm, and you don't have 4 months of winter to go to. You got 2 more days of winter before it melts off. So we get spring storms all the time, snowstorms. And we get those dramatic shifts in temperature. Like right now, it's 3 degrees. 4 days from now, it's going to be 55 degrees. So it's, or the middle of the winter. We had one day in the middle of the winter here, it got up to almost 50, and the next day it was like 14 below. So it's what is that? It's a 64-degree shift in temperature overnight. You can flip the bird and they can't see you. That's right. That's right, Grumpy. So, Grumpy. I'm only calling you Grumpy, Doug, because it says Grumpy. Just listen to an episode of Abnormal Realities with a notepad. Rocky and Ron probably say about everything they can say on the air. That's very true. It gets said. So, boy, I got not much else to talk about. I was actually kind of nervous about doing this show tonight. Did it show? No, I was nervous mostly because it's just, I've been in situations where I've engineered my own show before. And it's like, okay, I got to remember when to hit this button, when to raise that level, when to lower that level, when to fade in the music and fade out the ad. There's no fade on StreamYard. Unless Fieldy, you know of it and I don't. I can't find the fade. Because I'd love to play music underneath while I'm talking. But I'd have to do that with a different program. And I don't want to do that. And so I was a little nervous just about getting things, not talking on air, certainly not. None of that. It was doing the technical junk again. That was a problem. So there you go. The bad thing about those snowstorms, says Leslie, is that we've had it after Christmas is over. Yeah, pretty much. Christmas hits, we're done with winter, but we still got 4 months left of it, 3.5. And that sucks. So January, February, March, and a little bit into April. I say there isn't, Field Guy. There's no fade. I haven't been able to find it. Because, when I play my bumps and my music and stuff, it just goes black and goes right into the bump. Or it ends and I come on. I like being able... That was the one thing when I would do... If you've listened to any of the archives, Doug, that I put up, like last night, I did the whole second half of the show last night was recorded radio. It was me live as I was when I was recording my shows a couple hours in advance. And but the beauty of doing a pre-recorded show is that I can add all my bumps and my music. I can do the fade ins, the fade outs. Music starts playing under the talking, and you go, "Oh, you hear the music? We got about a minute left here, folks. Let's wrap this up." I like that. Yeah, maybe they'll fix that. That could be a suggestion for them. So you can actually start your music beneath your audio and your visual. That would be a nice thing. So it's just one of those things I like doing. I've always liked that. That to me is a cool professional radio show. It's it's slick, it's artsy, it's creative when you can throw your things in like that. Did Sarah Yusuf stick around? I don't see her now. I know she was new. I hope she enjoyed the show. I know there was some question. It looked like she had a question about what we were going to do on the show or something like that, and I didn't see it all. So new listeners like that, where I don't recognize them, I always hope that they'll be okay with the show, the way it's going, and so on. On Spreaker, we could chat. I was chatting with myself. Yeah, you can chat over at Spreaker when you're listening to the archive of this show. You can chat with people. But the archives we played this last week, those were a hell of a lot of fun. I was playing archives. And remember, guys, I've got like 600 episodes to play archives from. So we've been doing that for like the last 2.5 to 3 weeks, been playing archives, leading up to the kickoff of the live show again. And I did the gin. And what else did I do? I did another little series in there. And then I thought, oh, let's do the Exodus reality adventures. She went with the flow and enjoyed it. That's good, Leslie. I'm glad that she had a good time. But I'm glad you enjoyed those, Leslie. Yeah, the Exodus reality. That was, now, it doesn't seem that long ago for me. I forget how long ago that was. But in 2013, I took my first trip to Egypt. John and I spent a month over there at John Ward's place in Luxor. And we toured around it. Not toured, it makes it sound touristy. We traveled around to all different places associated with our book, The Exodus Reality, and for a month. And then the next year, we said, let's do this as a tour. And we opened it up for people to come and join us. And we had 14 people in all, plus 6 Egyptologists that were archaeologists with the Ministry of Antiquities in Egypt that were friends of John's and Maria's. And they would come along one of them came along for most of the trip and spoke at different places we were at and showed us the certain things that were going on where we were. We got into places on that trip that you could not get into as a tourist because it was a group of friends with a bunch of archaeologists that were affiliated with and part of the Egyptian Ministry of Antiquities. And so every day of that 14-day trip, save for a couple of days, we did a radio show. And we pre-recorded it on the deck of the Dahabea, floating down the Nile, and a couple of times in the hotels where we were staying. And we took those shows and we sent them up to, if any of you know Race Hobbs had KGRA radio. We had the Intrepid radio program. John Ward and I co-hosted that show over on KGRA back then in 2013, 2014. And so we did that trip and we recorded a half-hour show each night, and Race played them every night over on KGRA while we were on that trip. And then, of course, our regularly scheduled 2-hour show on 2 of the Sundays that we were there. And so we had a great time doing those. And, of course, Chris Conway. Leslie, I know you heard them. Those of you who didn't hear them, Chris Conway, he is the psychic medium. He was with Most Haunted, Britain's Most Haunted show. You know it by all the women who scream all the time. And Yvette Felding and her husband, Carl. And they had Richard Felix was their historian for a long time. Derek Akora was their psychic medium. He got let go sometime several seasons in. Chris Conway was one of the psychic mediums they hired. He's a Scottish psychic medium. They hired him for a couple of seasons on that show. And by 2014, when he came on the trip with us, he had already been off that show for a few years. But it was a great, fun show to do with him. It was a fun trip with him. And he's a witty person, funny and witty. And he added a lot to the show. And so he ended up doing the show with us every night. And those of you who heard those archives got to hear that. And if you didn't hear them, you can go over to the Spreaker channel. Now, none of these are labeled. I've got to go in and rename the shows because they're all just up there as the Intrepid radio show. But if you go back over the last several shows, you'll hear I did 2 of the segments, each one of our shows. We had half-hour segments. So I'd have to edit them up a little bit to cut a few extraneous things out of them so I could fit 2 30-minute segments and still do, an introductory bit and so on. And then last night I did the second half of the show. We had the first 1.5 hour left, the last episode from Egypt. And then I did live, quote unquote, pre-recorded live show last night. So, they're labeled by date now. That's cool. Right on. Yeah, go check it out, Doug. I think you'll enjoy them. You can ask Leslie. Leslie, I listen back to those shows and I sit and they crack me up sometimes. Do you remember, Leslie, the episode where we got all hung up on spelling alligator and crocodile? What's the difference between a crocodile? Why isn't it? What's the difference between an alligator to a crocodile? And Chris said, well, it's the spelling. And well, how do you spell crocodile? He says, well, crocodile starts with an A. And it's like, no, that's alligator. And it cracked us up. And we just went on and on and on with it. The day we were doing cut after cut after cut, sitting in the Seti the First Hotel in Aswan. And we were so tired and punchy that we're sitting in the lobby in the big overstuffed chairs trying to record a show. And it just wasn't working for us. So, but we cracked up through the whole thing. So, air date on your History Channel appearance. Don't know yet, Professor Bauer. They have not given me that yet. They said they'd let me know as soon as they had a date for that. It's History's Greatest Mysteries, and it's going to be the episode about the Voynich manuscript. And so it's coming up sometime soon. And hopefully in the next month or so. So all the shows are starting up again. So I'll shoot her an email. And I'll see if I can find out next week. So Leslie said, I laughed at so many things listening to those archived shows that I've never heard before. Yeah, some of that was a lot of fun. And you don't even know it was 8 years ago that we did that Egyptian trip. So March 86th of 2543. That's right, Doug. Not long now. Not long. So what else we got going on? Please let me know when that's going to air, Scotty and Professor Bauer. We will. We'll announce it on this show as soon as I know what's going on with that. Let's see. What else have I got? I got anything else for tonight? I might be just tapped for the night. I'm going to start turning into a pumpkin pretty soon. Yeah, it was like listening to a live conversation between friends, which is really what it was. It was fantastic. I just got not a call from John Ward, but he messaged me the other day, Saturday or Sunday, and he had just arrived in Cairo again from Sweden where they're living. And their season's going to start up pretty soon, but he was doing some filming, I believe, for National Geographic, and at the pyramids in Cairo, Giza. And he said, I'll get back to you on Wednesday, brother. Now it's Friday. I haven't heard back from him yet, but we'll hopefully talk maybe over the weekend. And my voice is just a little different, Doug. You're right. I don't know if it was cleaner or if I was a little, it's gotten a little older. It's like 8 years older. It's like me. You look at my pictures from Egypt 8 years ago. I look 8 years younger. So, yeah, it was a hell of a lot of fun. Grumpy says he loves Jeremy Hansen's show, but I never know when he's on anymore. I was listening. I caught him when I could. They stopped the morning crankers though, so I don't know where to find him right now. Jeremy, if you're out there listening, come on in and slap it in here. So, yeah, that's the whole thing about growing older. It's like I've said just recently to somebody. Oh, it was on a Instagram post. I said, I don't mind growing old. That doesn't bother me. I'm unfazed by that. What phases me is the mirror, seeing myself grow older. My nose growing redder, my hair getting thinner and whiter. Those are the things that bug me. And they don't bug me, but they bug me. You want to maintain that youthful vigor and that youthful sense. That's one thing I will say after this last trip to the dock with my heart. I felt a hell of a lot younger after that. I felt a lot more vigor, a lot more vitality, a lot more energy. Although I was tired after that. You went through, again, somebody running a wire up through your leg all the way to your heart. So they're going to try. I've got an appointment at the end of the month with my cardiologist to check into this specialist he was telling me about to see if they can fix that stent that was put in wrong and do a permanent fix on it, more or less. He said something that'll last you 25 years before it's got to be tampered with again instead of every 2 months. And see, that became kind of stupid because I was in December with a heart attack and they blew up the stent. And then I was in again now 2 weeks ago and they blew up the stent again with a heart attack. So that's a problem. Let's see. Leslie says, I look into the mirror and see time marching across my face, especially in the last year or so. Yeah. I see it. I look at my face right now, looking in the monitor. Dark circles. Some of that's tired, but some of that's permanent. It's just not going to go away. It'll go away if I go out and get in the sun. When I get really pasty in the wintertime, yeah, that's what happens. I can put on my glasses, My glasses hide that a little bit. You can put on your glasses and go, hey, there I am. I'm young again. But then I always thought glasses made me look older. So that's what you cope with and deal with when you start getting old like me. You can't get Spreaker again, Barbie D says. I wonder why. Grumpy says it's because it's too little, Scotty. What did I say? That joke is making sense to you and I'm not latching onto it. Shows we lived good and bad. That's right, Leslie. Good and bad. I just always wanted to age gracefully. I wanted to be one of those guys when I'm 89 that somebody goes, wow, he's aged gracefully. Not, wow, he looks old and haggard. I don't want to be old and haggard. So, blah, blah, blah. I've worn glasses since second grade, says Leslie. Making me look older is irrelevant when it comes to glasses. I didn't really start wearing glasses until I was into my 30s. So, even when I needed them, I suppose. So, well, guys, I think what I'm going to do is kind of wrap this up. Yeah, the stent, whatever. The stent. Says, oh, yeah, it was too small. It was too little. That's at the doctor. I'm laying on the table. I'm all sedated. They didn't really put me under for running a coat hanger up my crotch and into my heart. But they did sedate me for all that. And so I was awake most of the time. I could have nodded off if I wanted to, but I was interested. And I could kind of see there's a huge, like a 60-inch TV screen and two of them, but one right in front of the doc who was sitting down by my side. I'm laying on the flat table and he's looking at and if I moved my head this way, I could see it, but then had a big X-ray thing that kept working around me so they could see what he was doing X-ray wise and so on. And so I remember him, he's in there and I said, so doc, I said, be honest with me. Why does this keep happening? Am I just deteriorating? And I got 8 years to live and I'm done. And at most. And he said, no. He says, your heart's very strong. He says, all the tests I've looked at, recent tests you've done, says your heart really hasn't deteriorated a bit since the surgery 5 years ago. He says, you're in really the same shape. He says, which is pretty good. He said, but he says, what I think has caused this, he says, it looks right here. He says, I'm looking at it right now. He says, the stent they put in 5 years ago, which is what they did the night before the surgery, they put a stent in one artery, then the other one, they decided the next day they're going to go in and replace it. And so that stent they put in, he said that original stent was too small. He says, that's why it keeps closing up on you. That, folks, is why I've had all these episodes and heart attacks over the last 5 years. 4 or 5 of them. Why? And I call them minor, but I just usually feel, like a shoulder pain or something, and that's the giveaway. And I go in and my troponin, it's the enzyme your heart puts out when it's under stress. When you're having a heart attack, you put out certain levels of troponin. And so they took my blood tests, and the normal troponin level is under 1, let's call it 1 point. It's under 1 point, 0 point something. Mine was at 2 weeks ago when I went in. It was at a 5 when I went in. It was at a 8 when I had my heart attack 5 years ago and had surgery. It shot up to a 9 by the time they got me up to Regions Hospital in St. Paul 2 weeks ago. So I was at a 9, but I still wasn't having the, oh my God, I'm having a heart attack. I remember I was standing there in the room and they're going, you are having a heart attack right now. And I said, I'm not, what are you feeling? I said, I don't feel really anything. And by that time too, I wasn't even feeling it in the shoulder anymore. So it was a little bit deceitful. I think for me, if I have a massive heart attack that takes me out, I might not even feel it coming. The way my body seems to be put together. So Barbie D, thanks. I'm glad I got to see you even this little bit joyfully. Oh, hopefully. Sorry, I don't have my glasses on. I'll be able to get back to regular soon. I hope so, Barbie D. We'll be Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. Eastern. And Leslie says, again, the issues you could have avoided in the last few years had they put the right stent size in. That's it, exactly. And so that I might not have had any of those problems at all. We don't know for sure. There's no way to know for sure. So they're going to check me out with this specialist to see what they can do. Good night, Doug. You going away? Oh, yeah, it's an hour later there. So you have a good night, brother. Colonoscopy survivors unite. That's right, Professor Bauer. Colonoscopy survivors, have a drink on me, but not of that yellow stuff, and not a gallon. So think we're deceived about the heart, says Brian Parker. Hey, Brian, good to see you. I'd bet money on that, says Leslie. So there you go, folks. Those of you coming in late, or maybe you've been here the whole time, you just spoke up like Brian, I don't know. But I'm about done. I'm baked for the night. It's Friday night. Boy, 10:37 on a Friday night 30 years ago. I'd have been, let's go. And now I'm just kind of like, see, I can't even do that. I even look like an old guy doing that now because that's not what I did back then. But we were partying, we were drinking half the night back then, and not stupid drinking. I will put this straight. When I say that I used to be a notorious drinker, I don't mean that I was a bad drinker, a nasty drunk and sloppy and all that. No, we were refined drinkers. We never played the inebriate. We were brothers in arms, Dr. Bauer. You know what this is all about. Brothers in arms, where drinking was not for inebriation. It was a repast to hobnob with our brother wizards. That's what drinking was. And we were Scotch aficionados. Single malt Highland Scotch aficionados. Good night, Barbie D. All right, everybody. I'm going to go kick Ellery out of my bed and or carry her to her own and go use an unmanly word, snuggle with my naked wife. And you all have a fun night. And I will see you again, maybe Sunday, maybe not. And I think I'm on somebody else's show tomorrow night. I got to double check that. Somebody that wants me on a show. So I believe that's tomorrow night. And but other than that, that's all I got. So you guys, you know what? You have a good night. And I'm going to say live long and prosper. I'm not even going to play any out music. Well, yeah, why don't we? Let's just play. Here, I'll put the rainy trailer on for Sunday mornings, and we'll get out of here. So you guys, you know what? You have a good night. See you again. If not on Sunday, see you on Monday.